Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Extra Point podcast. I'm your host for this edition, Neil Reynolds. No Darren Fletcher with us this week. He's recovering from the Champions League final. Vernon Kay has a couple of family commitments, but I am not alone because I am joined by a Pro Bowl defender, an all-star defender from the Minnesota Vikings, cornerback Byron Murphy. Byron, thank you for joining me and for taking the time to speak to the international fans.
Yeah, sure, for sure. Definitely. Thank you guys for having me.
And this year, we're going to get our fill of the Minnesota Vikings because you're going to head to Ireland, week 4, Dublin, to take on the Pittsburgh Steelers, then back-to-back off to Tottenham Hotspur Stadium again to take on the Cleveland Browns. Let's just start with Ireland and your thoughts of going and playing a regular season game there.
For me, obviously, already on year 7, last year was my first international game, actually, playing in London. So, I'm looking very forward to this. Obviously, going to Ireland will be my first time, get the experience, obviously connect with the fans as well. That's the biggest thing, obviously travel games. I love that, bring the home, bring the fans with us and make sure we're the home team regardless of, the location. But yeah, that's my biggest thing. Just go connect with the fans, get out to Ireland and go ball.
There's a lot of emotion, I think, for American. I think that Ireland game is going to draw fans from around the world. Fans from America are going to feel very emotional about going to Ireland. It's a great destination for European fans. It's just a short hop from London on the plane. So tell us about that kind of coming together, if you will. And Steelers and Vikings fans travel, don't they?
They definitely travel. Pittsburgh fans are definitely everywhere. And like I said, I've been in this league. They always travel to every single game. Obviously, I think Minnesota does a good job at that too. Obviously, playing them a couple of times and obviously joining the team. I kind of, being here got more, get to see it in person, I would say. And obviously for the fans, that have to travel there, or, the fans that's already out there. I mean, traveling, we really love that, when, we bring our fans out there or stuff like that. So that really stuff that, players look into. Obviously, we want to have like I said, we're supposed to be the away team. We want the fans there to make it feel like a home game and bring that energy. But, for the fans that travel, we definitely love that. That brings, even more energy into the building, more energy to our team. So we just love that support system.
You are a finely tuned athlete, but you allowed like a little Guinness?
Just a little bit.
just a little sip if you win, maybe.
Yeah, just a little bit, just a little sip, because we got to get to the next one.
Yes, and that's what I was going to ask you about next. How important is that going to be? I mean, it's the first time that a team has played back-to-back games in 2 different countries. So, I mean, in terms of playing in America and then going to Ireland, and it's going to be 3 weeks in a row. But what's that going to be like for the team to stay on international shores and be together for that week or 10 days?
Obviously, adapting to that time change, that's the number one thing. You got to adapt. Obviously, that's the thing. You got to get your sleep when you can and all those things that matter, going to a game. But that's just the biggest thing. They're obviously, our coaches do a great job putting a platform out there for us to follow. You just got to make sure we lock in that. And obviously, like I said, just the time change. That's the biggest thing. Getting your sleep, getting the right recovery. And obviously, like you said, we're there for 2 weeks. So, that first week, you're going to have to adjust. And then I feel like the second week, you already be adjusted to, the time zone and all that thing. So I just think those 2 weeks are going to help us out.
What was it like playing at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium last year? And I guess taking down Aaron Rodgers, getting the turnovers on defense?
Yes, sir. Definitely was one of the best times of my life, I would say. Like I said, it was my first international game. Had all the juice, had, all the energy to go out there and play. And obviously, our team came out with the W. So, that's the biggest thing. Traveling and get the W on the road. We know it's hard in this league. That was the biggest thing. We got the dub, and obviously we got to travel back to Minnesota with the win.
Had you seen some of the international games before from afar? What did you make of the fans? Did any of it surprise you, or were you already aware that there was such a kind of growing passion for the NFL?
I would think a little bit of both. Definitely was surprised to see that many, Minnesota Viking fans that was out there in London. Definitely, like I said, it was my first time, so I kind of didn't know what was going to, how the audience and all that was going to be. But they just, they came out, they showed out, they brought the energy. So that was just, like I said, that was just a blessing to have, those fans out there with us.
We'll get into a couple of aspects of your team, your job. You talk about staying on the road. That's going to require a good leader. And I guess you have that in Kevin O'Connell. We hear about the play calling on the offensive side of the ball, but obviously you're from the defense. Tell me about him as a head coach in general, what he brings to the team, how he leads the team.
Definitely one of the best head coaches, since, we played football since 6 years old. So we have a lot of coaches in our life. I would definitely say for me, and I think this team as well, he's one of the best coaches. Obviously, he brings that energy every single day. But the number one thing is just making sure the culture, the energy's, right inside the building. So, that helps a lot as well for, younger guys coming in. They get to see like the veteran players, just how we, go about our business. So it kind of helps them, bring that leadership skill already as a rookie and all that type of stuff. And then now me, being older, one of the older guys in the room, I just got to, just stay on top of my leadership, making sure I'm communicating, teaching the young guys, everything they need to know. Cause I was in that room before, I was asking questions. So just being that vet now kind of takes on a little bit more. And I just love that role.
Was there a certain year where you think, okay, now I'm not listening to the older ones, I need to tell the younger one? Is there kind of a tipping point, if you will, where you become a leader of the team?
I would say for me it was kind of after, I would say like year 2 or 3.
Hmm.
The first year, obviously, it depends on, first year I came in the league, started right away, so kind of had to, learn a lot of stuff. I had good veteran cornerbacks in my room, like Patrick Peterson, Robert Alford, my rookie years, Tremaine Brock, all those guys as vets played a lot of ball, kind of helped me out. So that's a big thing, just having those veteran guys being, there for you.
Going into year 7,
Yes, sir.
how much has it changed from rookie year to now? Now, we hear those cliches: game slows down, game gets easy. I mean, this game can't ever surely get easy. But
Yeah, definitely. Definitely tempo definitely did slow down. You're definitely gonna, get that feeling because, when you first get in the league, you're going against the best receivers in the world. So, the tempo kind of feels fast. They're running good routes. They got good technique. Everyone has good technique. So it kind of is going by fast and all the tempo stuff. But then once get your ears under your belt, kind of everything slows down. You get to see stuff way before everybody else sees it, like formations, little stuff you can pick up to help the defense win. So that's the number one thing I'll be going into, seasons, just making sure I know if I see something, make sure I communicate and let the team know.
do you have to have a short memory to play your position
Definitely, yes,
and a
sir.
thick skin?
You got to go to the next play. Every single next play mentality. That's what it is.
What's it like playing for this Vikings defense? And we see so much and hear so much about the positions Brian Flores, the defensive coordinator, can put
So
you guys in. Is that exciting to be a part of? What's that like?
it's definitely exciting. He's always trying to put his players in the right position. He knows your strength, he knows your weaknesses as well. So, when we get in the game, everyone should be doing, the strengths that we think we can win with. So that's the thing about, Coach Flo. He's gonna make sure, he always putting in guys' position to make plays. And obviously his defensive scheme is just, it's different. I would say very different. And obviously, as a DB, you kind of got to learn a lot of different positions, just, a lot of stuff that moves on, emotions and all that stuff. So I just love the defense. Like I said, everyone makes plays. You don't know who's going to make the play, and that's the exciting part about it.
Do you have to be prepared to be? I mean, we hear that phrase: a cornerback can be put on an island. I mean,
Yes, sir.
sometimes you can be literally left alone, right,
Yes,
to
sir.
do your thing. But do you embrace that aggression, that aggressive approach that he dials up?
Oh yeah, definitely. Me as a corner, I would say for any cornerback, their mindset, let me go get the number one receiver and then let me lock him up. So that's like you saying you want to go get on the island and play the best receiver. But yeah, that comes, that's gonna come, when we have certain matchups and everything like that. But on the island, when it's you and him versus 1-on-1, you're getting some action from the quarterback. So you got to just be ready for that.
Is it a defense when you look at, I don't know, turnovers and sacks and those kind of moments really that can those those moments can change games, aren't they? Is that what your defense is built on or prides itself on when you sit in the meeting room and demand something of each other? What is it?
Yeah, sure. I'll definitely say we pride ourselves on that. We go into every single defensive meeting and we're watching turnover circuits. We're watching, guys make plays. So that's just in our mind every single day, just clicking on our mind to, go out there and make a play. And obviously when you get a turnover, you say it's fourth quarter, big, big change for our offense, momentum and all those things. I feel like that's something we definitely take pride in. And obviously last year we led the league in interceptions. So even though we dropped about 10 to 15, I would say like 10 passes. We gotta go beat the record. But that's our goal going in this season. Make sure we don't, cause every single turnover. Make sure we actually finish the play.
So you had 6 last year, career
Yes,
high
sir.
for you. How much of that is obviously tremendous physical ability, but how much of that is that thing you talked about earlier, the film study, the homework that you have to do? How do you come up with 6 interceptions in a season?
Man, I would just say definitely our defensive coach. He does a great job of breaking down the film when we go against our receivers on Sundays. That definitely helps me. Obviously, watching film, kind of like I said, seeing formations and know what routes you're going to get from that formation. And obviously, you got to give a shout out to my defensive line. putting the pressure on the quarterback, making the quarterback get off the spot. And I had some gimmies, but like I said, shout out my D line because they was making the quarterback kind of hurry.
Do you guys do any kind of almost cross training from each other's positions? You see what Josh Metellus does, moving all across the formation. Van Ginkel does the same kind of thing.
Yes,
Harry
sir.
might be deep middle safety, and then he might be right up at the line of scrimmage. How much is versatility a part of your defense?
That's that. Like I said, that's very a lot because at cornerback you can play, you can play a kind of safety position, or if we get a certain motion, you can travel over and play another safety position. So I think that does definitely for our defense, you got to learn multiple spots because
Hmm.
when motions come in every single play in this league, so you got to move from spot to spot, and that could be an assignment from a different assignment. So you kind of got to know what you're doing on this defense.
You said just a minute ago that you want to face the best wide receivers in the NFL.
Yes,
You
sir.
don't have a choice in practice.
Every day, every single day,
What's
and
that
that's
like? I mean,
what
that must help.
And that's one thing I do love about this team as well. I'm going against one of the best receivers in this game, and not even just Jets. We got JA, we got other guys, but even like I said, even our practice squad guys last year was giving us work at practice every single day, making us go out there and compete. So I'll just say we have an overall good receiver group, great coach over there as well. So I think every day you just got to come and play, and obviously going against number 18 and 3, you kind of come to practice and ready to be practiced every single day.
Is there a lot of talking? Are you a talker on the field?
I have to talk. You gotta
Do
have some fun with it. You gotta have some fun with it because this is a tough game. You gotta have some fun with it at the end of the day.
so? Is that on game days as well? You'll do that all through a game. Is it pretty good natured stuff?
Oh yeah, you gotta try to get the receiver off his mark, out of his mind. You gotta kind of change it up a little bit, make him think a little bit about something else.
Anything. It's the.
Anything you could think of.
I always heard what a couple of defensive backs told me once that the ones that freaked them out the most were like Julio Jones, who wouldn't
Yep.
say a word. When they're
hmm
quiet, that you haven't got to them.
That's the part where when they're quiet, that probably means either they're locked in or you probably got to go keep saying some more stuff.
Or you might have them. Yeah, it
You
could be
might
either
have
way.
to. Yeah,
You
yes,
might
sir.
you might already have them. So OTAs and mini camps going on, just getting back to football. What's that like once you come back together as a team? And actually, before that, how do you spend your free time?
Yeah, definitely. Free time. Obviously, yeah, I've been, back in Arizona, training, obviously getting ready for, mini camp OTAs and all those things, staying on top of your body, all those little things. I got, 2 kids, always just chilling with the fam. I'm a big family guy. And then obviously coming and getting ready for OTAs, we got, just coming in the building, getting back with your guys. And obviously we had every single player show up to OTAs this year. So
Hmm.
that was a good thing as well because we had everyone here, and obviously we got some new guys in the building. I got to learn new stuff. Obviously we got to get offense on the side as well. They got to get on the same connections and all that type of stuff. So to have everyone in the building kind of shows you what type of team this is.
And you talked about the leadership earlier. So is the OTAs, obviously you're installing defenses, you're installing offenses, there's X's and O's to it, but is it your first chance to kind of lay down a marker to other players that are coming into this is how we run things. This is who the Minnesota Vikings are. Is it as much about that kind of emotional stuff as well?
Yeah, it's definitely that. And I would say as an older guy, being, kind of vet in the room, you're coming back to, you kind of know the defense and all those things. So it's more like coming back, working on your technique. And like I said, just helping the younger guys that just got here. And then for the younger guys coming in, it's really just building your name. You're coming
Mm.
into an NFL team. You're trying to go out there and make plays, show who you are as a player. So you got to kind of tune back a little bit sometimes as a young guy, but yeah, it's definitely just coming in, as a young guy, just coming in ready to work and obviously get a name for yourself.
You just mentioned that everyone's here for the OTAs, so full
Yes, sir.
attendance. That speaks to, I guess, a hunger. Tell us about how last season kind of went and then ended,
hmm
and what that's kind of left you feeling as you go into 2025. If anything, I know sometimes each season is new, but has it left you kind of hungry?
I would definitely say last year was probably it is one of the best teams I've been a part of. I felt like we did a great job the whole season. Obviously, we could have did things better. Didn't turn out how we wanted to. We lost our first, playoff round. And me, I still got the chip on my shoulder because that team that we lost to kind of I played them twice a year when I first got into the NFL. So that team kind of, it's just been on my mind this whole offseason. Like, we can't go out like that again. We put in all that work, all those W's, all that stuff we put together as a team. We didn't end how we wanted to. So now, we got to keep that in our mind. Like, that feeling that we had when we left that field that last game, that's still right here in my mind when I go on the field. So that's just my
Yeah.
mindset.
And will that carry you, do you think, through, I don't know, the last 10 minutes of a practice in the heat of the summer in July and August? Is that kind of when you're able to dig deep? Because you physically or mentally draw on that and think about those things?
Exactly. I feel like for me, I'm just going every single practice, just going to make sure I'm competing because I know at the end of the day, in this, like I said, in this league, it could be one step away from this, one step away from that. So it's like you want to be on that step and go make that play. So that's just the mindset I'm just having going in this season. Being on year 7, I definitely just want to win. That's my biggest goal. I don't really have no self goals right now. I just want to go win, and that's the number one thing, to go get a championship and get that ring.
A couple more, Byron, just to wrap up. Your young quarterback, everyone's excited to see him play. JJ McCarthy, we saw him briefly in the preseason last year. You'd have seen him throughout training camp, preseason, parts of this offseason already. Tell us what you think of him and what we can expect.
Man, I would just say one of the guys that come in and work. He came in right away. He's been making plays since he got here, and obviously the stuff that the injury and stuff that happened. But I just feel like I said, he's been in the building every single day, working on himself, working on his mindset. Obviously, he's already a leader. We already know it. We see that out of him on the field. That's already there. But him just coming here every single day, just ready to work, and obviously now he gets to see a defense in front of his face, so he's always asking questions. And that just shows me he's trying to get better. And like I said, he's just a great guy to be around, full of energy, full of vibes. So that's the type of quarterback you want on this team. And obviously, he just, like I said, he comes to work every single day.
Last one. Obviously, you do this for yourself and for your teammates, and you've mentioned the kind of team, but the fans must be a huge, just to wrap up, we talked about the fans that will travel to Ireland. The fans must be a huge driving force for you guys. I was on the sidelines presenting for Sky Sports week 2 last year, the game where you guys took down the 49ers.
Yes, sir.
We were moments away from kickoff. We're live. I'm like literally live on the sideline with Indomkan Sue's there with me, and the skull chant starts.
Yes,
and
sir.
we just shut up. We shut up, and I was just looking around the stadium. I've never seen anything like it. I've never heard anything like it. I wonder what it's like to play in front of that kind of audience every Sunday.
I was gonna say the same way that you were just looking around when my first time hearing that in the stadium. That's the only thing I could do. I was just like, "Wow, like this is crazy!" Like our first game home, and they were just doing the skull chant, and I was just like, "All right, I think I'm ready to play now," because they just brought all the energy. I felt like my helmet was shaking a little bit on the field, but yeah, that was just one of the things. I'm like, man, I'm ready to play now because they kind of get us going. That skull chant is probably one of the loudest, the most energy, and you could just tell like the fans really, they're really doing that chant. They mean something. So that kind of, like I said, gets us going on the sidelines to get us ready to play.
All right, Byron, we're going to enjoy that in Dublin
Yes,
at the end of
sir.
September, and at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium on October the 5th. We look forward to seeing you and the Minnesota Vikings not once but twice in Europe. Good luck for those games and for the entire season, and thanks for joining us today.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you.
So there we are. That's Byron Murphy, the all-star cornerback for the Minnesota Vikings. Very much looking forward to seeing him playing in Europe later this year. It won't be long now until the games are with us, and the 2025 season is underway. And if you want to get to America to a game, goodness me, you can get to games in Europe, 6 of them this year, without having to leave Europe. So you can get all of that information from elitesportstravel.co.uk on social media at elitesportstrav. And their packages are already up for grabs now. The season opener, which will include a trip to Philadelphia to see the reigning Super Bowl champions. The Neil Reynolds road trip will be in October. Our Extra Point podcast trip will be in November. There will be bespoke trips available throughout the regular season and the playoffs, all leading up to, of course, Super Bowl 60 in San Francisco. Elite Sports Travel will have you covered all the way through the 2025 season. So thank you for joining us it's been a bite-sized edition of the podcast this week. Next time, I will not be flying solo. We'll come back next month as training camps open across America. I'll be joined by Darren Fletcher and Vernon Kay. Until then, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.